I think that one of the biggest challenges that event planners face is working with leadership. You know, maybe some of us have been leaders ourselves, but we wanted to kind of put together this this list because this is the thing that kind of really will affect whether an event is successful or not. There's obviously a lot of leaders are hard. Actually, I don't know that we necessarily have it's hard to meet the expectation, and everybody has a boss too. That's the thing. Like your boss has a boss, and that boss isn't necessarily doing anything strategic or wise, or they just want to offer value. You know, they may not even care, but they're like, oh, you asked them, so now they care. And then it becomes, it's this crazy trickle down thing. But some of the things that I wanted to offer some suggestions, having the shared language is really, really big. For time, I didn't go into the Working Genius thing. Maybe at some point I'll send you, I'm going to do another session where we can kind of talk through. There's this thing called Working Genius, which is, actually I'll do a quick overview. With reading all of the books and doing all of the podcasts, everybody sells a course. Everybody sells an assessment, certification, something like that. You know, for 7 years, I was just reading and doing all this different stuff. Everybody had their courses. When this came out, I was like, yes, this is what I need to get certified in. This really makes sense why events, some happen and some don't. Okay. And so basically what this is the Table Group, Patrick Lencioni. He's written several really, really successful books. They found out as a organization that work happens in 6 steps. All engagement activities, event planning, project management happens in 6 steps. Even trying to figure out with your roommate, your friend, your spouse, which restaurant you should go to actually follows this flow and process. Every single thing starts with wonder, right? So there's 6 steps that everything goes through. Wonder looks at a situation, looks at a problem and says, where is their pain? Where is their potential? So an organization looks at and says, we need to engage our donors. We want to engage our alumni. We don't have enough donors. We don't have enough alumni involvement. What could we create to engage our donors and our alumni? So wonder is kind of that 30,000 foot view where what's broken, what's possible. Invention says, yes, that's a problem that should be solved. That's an opportunity that we could potentially capitalize on. What's a new and novel solution to solve that problem? What if we did a gala? What if we did a reception? What if we did a block party? What if we did this campaign event? So what if it looked like this? It's coming up with a solution to that problem. What happens is a lot of times, a lot of organizations skip this center step. So there's a lot of ideas, right? And then in some cases, when it comes to leadership, comes to authority, comes to board approval and some of these things, you just get kind of galvanized into implementation. Here's an idea, do it. I want a new slide, put it up. And there's that middle step that gets missed often. So Nike was, the Table Group was working with Nike, and their research and development team had this problem. The research and development team would come up with ideas. Hey, what if we did a sneaker with tears from a hippo in the sole of the shoe? And the execution team, production team, just put it into process. And so, but then when it came to market, they're like, oh man, people hippos don't cry very much and it's expensive. And so how are we going to do this? So it's one of those things where they were missing this center step and the process wasn't going well. And so people a lot of times will skip from ideation, or they'll only invent. Here's a solution. to a problem we shouldn't invent, right? Like people aren't looking for hippo tears in their shoes. Like this is not solving any problem. So after invention, once you come up with that solution, we have to have discernment. And this is it's not the devil's advocate. It's this gut feel around what are some of the nuggets here? Oh, it sounds like that's really important. Sounds like you want people to have fun, and that's why dancing could be good. What's another way that we could have people interact and dance that would make it work? Oh, we could do, what if we did trivia? What if we did a competition? What if we did a raffle, drawing? So kind of this idea of pulling out some of the nuggets, some of the gold in the idea. That's what discernment is. This is a step that often is overlooked, often missed. Then there's galvanizing. So galvanizing, it says, we're solving a problem that should be solved. We came up with a good solution and we tossed it back and forth. Let's go. Like let's move this into implementation. Let's do that. And I think we all have seen when we've been galvanized too early, right? When we've been pushed and said, hey, just make it work. Just do it, please, right? This feels really jarring, especially if we haven't done this, or we haven't had a chance to talk through some of this stuff. So this process that all events and project management go through is huge. So enablement, they wanted to spell widget. I like to use the word collaboration. So it says widget. Enablement is something that nobody really wants to be an enabler. Is collaboration. So when the person galvanizes you and says, all right, let's go. Let's make this happen. You assemble the team. You define roles. People collaborate to get it done. And then tenacity. Tenacity is doing the tasks that need to be done. It's landing the plane. And so this is the process that all events go through. And when I found out about it, I was like, this is why some are successful and why some aren't, right? This is, you could overlay it in some of the 80-20 as well. 80% of work, 80% of your time is spent in the implementation phase. 80% of your impact and what's going to happens over here. We use often this analogy of an airplane. An airplane, if it was flying from JFK to LAX and it was off by 1 degree, it would land 40 miles away from the airport in the ocean. So when we think about events and we think about the foundation, audience obsession, organizational alignment, we can think about this idea of wonder, invention, discernment, and galvanizing. This is the process that has to happen at the beginning. That's that we are flying from JFK to LAX. What often happens in the event planning process is rather than flying kind of like an airplane should, you go up to 30,000 feet, the analogy breaks down a little bit, you kind of have this nice clean descent, right? What happens is when someone comes in with an idea and the plane is landing, it's just like when you're on a plane and you're starting to see the industrial buildings, you see it getting closer, you're checking out the houses, seeing how many pools people have. When your boss comes in and says, what if we did this? It would be literally like taking that plane from 100 feet all the way back up to 20,000 feet, right? A lot of turbulence, and everybody on that plane hates you. In some cases, maybe a little extreme. But so knowing when the geniuses happen, knowing when these steps happen, really, really helps. And so you can say, hey, I think we need to invent this a little bit more. Or are we solving the right problem? Or just discerning here. I'm not super sure. I don't necessarily have a better solution, but something in my gut is telling me that maybe we shouldn't do this piece, or that could be more effective in a different way. And so Working Genius it's an assessment that people can take. You could go on workinggenius.com today. It's something I got certified in, but anybody could go and take the assessment. The cool thing about it is people are uniquely gifted in two of these things. So when you think about a project, you're uniquely gifted. You have two geniuses of the six. Every job requires all geniuses. Every event needs all six geniuses. I'm a solopreneur, except for when I'm not. And I have to wonder, invent, and discern and galvanize for my organization. I can pull other people in. But you're uniquely gifted at two. You're competent at two. And then you're frustrated by two. You could be very proficient in something, but you could be frustrated by it. The term frustration is really just this: I do it, I just don't enjoy it. So 3 years ago, I took this assessment. I said, I'm an event planner who does not like landing planes. And when I go to my clients, I say, hey, let me land planes for you. Like, it was like, I'm an event planner that doesn't love details. And the primary thing that I was selling was like, let me do your details. There's people who love it, right? When I said like I turned down clients, hey, if you want someone just to execute, that's great. What I found is I have discernment and enablement. So I'm an insightful collaborator is my pairing. When you have two, every single person has two things that they're great at. Isaac is a creative dreamer. He loves spending his time head in the clouds. He sees tons of opportunities and tons of inventions and has a frustration and tenacity, right? If you know that, you can solve for it, you can be aware, you can say, hey, I'm working outside of my gifting here, but I know it needs to get done. So I don't get to just say, hey, I'm an event planner, no tenacity, I'm done. So it's a really, really helpful tool. If it's something that you're interested in learning more about for yourself personally or for your team, let me know. There's some team building activities and exercises I do. But what I wanted to kind of capture is a lot of the breakdown that we have with working with leadership really is solved by Working Genius. This client that we were working with recently, I was like, hey, they were doing enough business. I was like, can I do it with you all for free? Because I saw the writing on the wall. We just didn't have time to do it. But a lot of this is just that incongruence of knowing where the plane is and knowing when that gifting is, and in some cases even just adding too much value. But to just kind of go through a couple of these things, tips on working with leadership is this idea of using the catalytic tips, talking about rocks, pebbles, sand, minimum viable product. It's so much easier to say some of those things rather than like, that's a bad idea. Leading up is a great thing that you can do because you can reconnect with the idea, the goals, the audience, take it back to some of those things that you defined in advance. When difficult suggestions are made, remind the stakeholder of the goals and articulate how that would potentially hinder them from achieving that goal. Present the difficulty of the request and ask what they would like to take off of your plate. In some cases, it's a negotiation tactic that people can use. If you, a book that I read was talking about a hostage or a bank or hostage negotiator, and he would often put the problem back on the person that took the hostages. He'd say, hey, I need $5 million and a helicopter in an hour, or, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. And his next question is, how do you expect me to get $5 million in an hour? And you kind of put, hey, people are walking on stage. How would you like me to have this slide designed? Because my computer is projecting this image. I can go open up my desktop, but you all don't want to see that. So remember that bad news doesn't get better with time. This is huge too. If there's a Band-Aid that needs to be ripped off, rip it off. It doesn't get better with time. Like, something comes up, I own up to lots of mistakes because events are imperfect, right? There's things that we thought were going to happen that don't, and different things that take place. And so yeah, and then listening to the leader is huge. A lot of times leaders just want to hear that they're being considered, and this is a great opportunity to lead up and say, okay, like, I hear you. This is something important. I hear that this is important to you. Can we readdress this after we've taken care of these rocks or after we've done this thing? So just a couple quick tips. It was fresh on our mind and wanted to throw that in there. But I'll just kind of finish by showing these. These are some of the other things that we do for organizations. So we do coaching for accidental event planners. We kind of walk alongside if you're planning an event. I don't have the time to plan events and do all the details, but I love coming alongside people that are and providing that opportunity to say, hey, we're thinking about A or B, or I need to find a venue. Where do I look? What do I do? What questions do I ask? We do event evaluation and triage. So if people are like, depends on how critical it is. Event consulting and collaboration, we just kind of, and sometimes be that insightful collaborator and come alongside people as they're planning. We do Working Genius, so we can take your team through the assessment and kind of use the event as an isolated kind of case study to learn more about your Working Genius, your preferences, your frustrations, how to work on a team. Events are a great way to kind of get two things done. Also, it's kind of a give for your event team because you get to learn. And it's not one of those things where you need, not like Enneagram, or like you don't have to read a bunch of books or go through a bunch of stuff. I explained it in about 10 minutes and you all had the basic idea of what that was. So we do audio visual services, video work and stuff like that. So, but yeah, would love to just, my big things, like I said at the beginning, I want you to know that you can plan successful events. They don't have to be so stressful. I want you to feel empowered. As accidental event planners, you have what you need to plan the event. If we do that 80%, organizational alignment, audience obsession, the rest of the stuff will come into place. Those decisions become a lot easier, and it's going to feel, what you're going to feel when you're done is an event that's really, really congruent. The pieces come together, the music flows, there's lots of thoughtful bits and pieces that it just oozes your organization, your goals, and people leave telling themselves the story that you wanted them to be able to tell themselves.